That's so good. Hello again everyone, and welcome back to the Red Gingham. If you're new to the channel, my name is Joy, and in here I show you my recipes that will help you transition into a plant-based diet. So for today's recipe, I'm going to show you how I make lettuce wraps using Hoisin sauce. You've probably tasted this in Chinese restaurants, especially it's a good condiment for Peking duck. Now let me emphasize that this is a transition diet because this sauce, Hoisin sauce, is high in sodium and sugar. So let me just read it to you. For sodium, this is 47% sodium, and for sugar, it is 18. There's 18 grams of sugar here. Actually, with the added sugars, it says 38% sugar and 47% sodium. So we are going to use this sparingly. And the reason I say transition, if your palate has not yet adjusted to a real plant-based recipe, then this is how you slowly transition, by slowly introducing more vegetables into your diet. This is going to be an all-veggie lettuce wrap. If you go to the restaurants and order this, sometimes they contain like maybe bits of pork or ground chicken or ground pork in it, but this one is going to be all veggie. But then we are going to use this sauce sparingly. So this is how I show you how you slowly transition into a plant-based diet. So let's start cooking. Okay, so for today's ingredients, we're going to be using about 4 cloves of garlic, brown onion. You can also use red onion. Now this is half an onion. This is my leftover onion. I'm not going to be using all of this, so I'm probably going to be using about this much of half an onion. So a little over half of this half of an onion. About 2 cups of broccoli. I have leftover green bell peppers, so this is what I will be using, about this much of a green bell pepper. A carrot. Now this may be a little bit too much, but I'm going to use the entire carrot anyway. A stalk of green onion. We're going to use all of this. Now I have leftover iceberg lettuce. So, but there's still a lot in here. What I'm making today is for 2 people. So iceberg lettuce, about 2 tablespoons of peanuts, and hoisin sauce. This brand is Lee Kum Kee. Lee Kum Kee is actually made here in LA. It's actually in the City of Industry. And I cannot remember where I got this. I got this for either Walmart or Stater Brothers. So you should be able to see this in regular American supermarkets, but definitely Asian food stores would have this too. So again, it's called hoisin sauce, made by Lee Kum Kee. And just canola oil for sauteing. Okay, so while my cutting board is still dry, the first thing we're going to chop is our peanuts. So I'm just gonna give it a rough chop. You don't want it too fine because you want to have some crunch. So just roughly. Yeah, you want it to be crunchy when you bite into your lettuce wrap. Next, we chop up our garlic. Get the skin out. Okay, next is our onion. So I'm not using everything. I'm going to save a little bit. Just that much. Trim off the ends of the onion. Take out that skin. A little bit more on the top right there. And then we start chopping. Again, you don't want this to be too finely chopped because I like the crunch of the onion. Okay, so next will be our carrots. First, what I'll do is trim off the ends. And then using a peeler, I'm going to peel the skin off. And I'm just going to cut it into manageable sizes so it's easier to cut that way. Maybe about 2 inches. Cut it in half, and then I start chopping. So I cut that into 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. No, sorry, 5 pieces. And now I'm just gonna do it crosswise. I did it first lengthwise. Now we're gonna do it crosswise into smaller cubes. Yeah, you don't want it too small. Again, I want my veggies to be crisp and crunchy, so that's why I'm not cutting it too fine. Okay, as you get into the narrower part of the carrot, this is now towards the tip, the smaller end, you're not going to be able to cut this into 5 strips like I did for the bigger part of the carrot. So depending on the size of your carrot, it will be probably just 4 or 3. So right now I just did 3 lengthwise, into 3 strips. Let me show you. So yeah, I was able to get 3 out of that. Otherwise it's going to be too small and very difficult to cut. So and then again, I'm just going to cut it into smaller cubes. Okay, so our green bell pepper is next. I'm just gonna cut it in strips. And then cubes. Mushrooms, cut off the stem. Just cut it into small pieces. And this one, don't make it too small because mushroom tends to shrivel up when cooked, so not too small, just a rough chop. The green onion is for garnish. We're going to top the lettuce wraps with green onion. So I'm just gonna slice this into small rings. So next is our lettuce. I already trimmed off the bottom part right here. Just trim it off a little bit more. And then what you want is to, see how big this is? What you want is to cut it just so you have enough to make into a boat. The way you eat this is almost like a taco, where you put the veggies, the cooked veggies here later, and then just eat it like a taco. So this one's actually a good size, but since I already have a small leftover lettuce, this is the smaller, the inside portion of the iceberg lettuce. But if you still have the big iceberg lettuce and it's still the outer portion, then it's going to be very big. You can just cut it in half. So let's pretend this is a big one. So you can just cut it in half. And you can have a smaller, like a shell, like a leaf shell, and put your veggies here. So I'm just gonna cut this and then wash it, rinse it, and then spin dry it in a salad spinner. See, as you get into the core of this iceberg lettuce, it gets smaller and smaller. Like this one's like a cup, so I don't really need to cut this up anymore. And look how small this one. This is like a real bite size right here. So we are now down to the core. Look at that. It looks like a tulip almost. How cute. Okay, so our broccoli is already pre-cut. I buy the organic broccoli florets from Trader Joe's. So all I did here was to wash it. And our iceberg lettuce is already in here. I washed it. Now it's time to spin it in the salad spinner to get rid of the excess water. So let me show you our cut up veggies right here. Here's our garlic, onion, green bell pepper, and carrots. Now for the carrots, we don't need this much. Probably half of the carrot would do. But since I don't want to leave it as a leftover, half a carrot, and I have no use for it, I'm just using everything, all of the carrots. Here's our green onion for garnish, our chopped up mushrooms. And what else? And then we had our peanuts. That's also will come later towards the end of the process. And then, oh, let me just tell you that, you know, you can use different kinds of vegetables. This is what I have here in my refrigerator. The important thing is the veggies that have a little crunch to it. So in place of carrots or broccoli, maybe you can use jicama, or in Tagalog we call it singkamas, or also water chestnuts. And then maybe, I've never tried this, but maybe you can use it with fruit like pear or apple, because they are crunchy type of fruits, and they have a very mild flavor that will not compete with the flavors of the rest of the veggies. So those are just options. Use whatever veggies you have available. And I actually like making this when I have leftover veggies. That way I can put a little bit of everything in there. Okay, so now let's start our cooking. Okay, so our pan is now heated up. Here's a tip: if you want to use a stainless steel pan and you're going to saute or fry something, heat it up first before you put the oil. Heat it up to a good temperature. I don't know the temperature, I just know it by feel from experience now, and things will not stick to your pan when you do that, when you heat it up first before you put your oil. Okay, so we are going to be using canola oil, but very little. So by now you're slowly transitioning into your plant-based diet. Don't put a lot of oil. Just put a little to give your veggies a good stir fry, but not like the traditional stir fry where there's a lot of oil in it. Okay? So again, this is a transition-based recipe. So just a little bit. Okay. That's probably about a tablespoon. And I'm going to do the carrots first, since this is the hardest of the vegetables. Now if you use fruits, like I said earlier, then you don't have to cook that. You just put that at the end when your veggies are already cooked. Okay, so I have my heat on low to medium, between low and medium. And you don't want to cook the carrots all the way through. You want it sort of halfway cooked, because you're still going to add the other vegetables, and it will cook while the others are, as you add the other veggies. And again, this recipe, I like it to be, you know, to have some crunch to it, and I keep saying that since the beginning of this recipe. So now I am going to add the garlic. And you know, you test it with a fork. And because these carrots are cut up small, they will cook quick. Okay, so that's half done. Now the garlic's in there. I am now going to add the onion. There's very little oil in the pan. It smells so good in here. Add in the broccoli. And the mushrooms. Now I'm going to add about a tablespoon of water and cover it. The water will create steam and help the veggies cook faster. Okay, let's give this a stir. I'm just turning the mushrooms so the mushrooms are at the bottom of the pan now. And let's test the broccoli. Okay, the broccoli is still very firm. You can, and I'm going to add just a tad bit of water. Maybe another 2 minutes and we're done. And that's when I'm going to add this, maybe in about a minute, I'm going to add this green bell pepper. Okay, that's about a minute, so let's check it again. Broccoli is now slightly tender. And mushrooms are getting cooked as well. I'm going to mix everything. And now it's a good time to add the green bell pepper. Look at that beautiful color right there. Orange, green, and a little bit of brown from the mushrooms. Beautiful. I'm going to season it. I forgot to mention earlier in our ingredients, black pepper, just to season it. And I'm not going to put any salt because the hoisin sauce is already salty. That's what's going to give this the most flavor. So now we are ready to put the hoisin sauce in here. Now, I typically don't measure when I cook. So I'm just going to eyeball this and I'm going to taste this as I go. I'm going to squeeze in a good amount, well, not very good amount, just enough. Again, I want to emphasize again that this is a salty condiment. Like I said earlier, it's high in sodium. So you don't want too much. Okay, let me grab it. So that's how much I just drizzled. Was in a zigzag fashion and one circle right there of hoisin sauce. Stir it all together. Oh, it smells so good. The hoisin sauce really has this very distinct fragrance to it, very distinct aroma. It's so aromatic in this kitchen right now. So now I am going to try this. There's still a little bit of water from that water that we added. So let's try this. That is good flavor right there. That's enough hoisin sauce for me. So now we're ready to put this in our lettuce wrap. Okay, so I just turned off the heat, and now it's a good time to add the peanuts. Stir it well into the vegetable mixture, and now we can plate it up. Just take a look at this beautiful vegetable dish right here. So let's grab a lettuce. Okay, here we go. So what I'm going to do is grab some of that veggies, put it into this lettuce, fresh lettuce, and then top it with green onions, fresh green onions. Okay, now let's, ooh, juices are coming out of there. Okay, let's try this. The lettuce is so crisp. I can taste the mushroom in there. The peanuts, oh my god. The peanut really gives it an extra layer of flavor there. It's really good. Now I kept the Hoisin sauce very light because I'm trying to make you cut down on your salt. You see, true plant-based experts advise us to have an SOS-free diet. That means salt, oil, sugar-free, SOS. But since this is a transition recipe and you're not ready to go completely without salt or oil or sugar yet, this is one good way of doing that. And I feel as you will be more successful if you do it in baby steps rather than doing the change abruptly. So this is one good way of introducing yourself to a plant-based diet. That's why I call this a transition. Slowly transition, and you will have more success with that. That's how I did it. That's how I transitioned. And now I can actually, most of my recipes that I do now are sugar. It's SOS free, salt, oil, sugar free. Not completely, not on everything though. The important thing is that you're cutting down and you're taking a step in the right direction. So that's how you do it. So let's take another bite. The carrots are crisp, the lettuce is crisp. Let me put some green onion in there. It fell off, so let's add that there because I love green onions, raw green onions. Oh wow, that's the green onion. See, when you don't overcook everything, it just tastes more fresh. It just tastes fresher. And the crispiness of it, it's just really, really good. So I hope you try this, and I'm going to discourage you from adding, from topping it off with Hoisin sauce. You know, you want to cut down. You want to start somewhere. So this is a good start. Just cut down on your salt and other condiments that are really not healthy for you. So I hope you enjoyed today's recipe. This is a veggie, all veggie lettuce wraps. Thank you for watching the Red Gingham. Until next time, it's all veggie, it's healthy, and it's tasty. Thank you for watching.